Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another installment of the College Football Kickoff Show, brought to you on both Facebook and YouTube. Yours truly, Brandon Roneman, about to get you all ready for the Saturday slate, the first full Saturday of college football, all day, all night long. Well, before we dive into the picks, first and foremost, I want to get you up to speed on where we are right now. Overall, 12-5. We went 9-3 last night, including the infamous North Dakota State loss to, that team. I won't even acknowledge it. I didn't see the game, but I heard enough about it to know that we're not going to touch it. Not going to touch it. I think, I'm not sure, but I'm contemplating on not even giving a crumb's worth of a thought of ever wearing the Colorado Buffaloes lanyard this season. I haven't looked at the schedule. Definitely won't wear it next week. They play Nebraska, and speaking of Nebraska, we'll get to them a little bit later on. But I find it funny that when I did the Thursday and Friday picks, I got them in just before the alleged cheating allegations came out. Yeah, right. Anything for clicks, right? P on D on. I will not take Colorado at all this year. You heard it here. Let's get right to it. The Saturday selections we have, as always, we have it all broken down for you. Helmet selections come first, the lanyard selections come second, and then the big ones. And I must tell you that I really wished I did this at Cameron, or outside for that matter. But alas, we have to keep it on the down low. After all, it's early Friday evening here, and we must carry on with the selections, beginning with a guarantee that I made to our very own athletic director at W&J, Mr. Scott McGinnis. I told him, I said, I'm guaranteeing that Pitt's going to beat Kent. So there you go. It would not surprise me, however, knowing Pitt, they have a tendency of playing down to a weaker team's level. Immediately, Youngstown State comes to mind, and there's probably some other ones, but I can't put my finger on them. So it'll be interesting to see how Pitt comes out in its first game tomorrow. High noon kick for that one. Tennessee and Chattanooga. No, I wouldn't say they're in-state rivals. I don't think of them so much as, a city and a state. Beyond that, Rocky Top. Got to go with the Volunteers. Just give me a ringside seat for a night game in Knoxville when they break out the black uniforms. If I wasn't so enamored, and oh, by the way, I meant to do this, and I don't know what I did with them. Oh, there they are. Pardon me a moment. So much for formalities. I forgot to bring them over here. I wasn't as ready as I thought I was. Just a formality. I'm going to go ahead and make my obligatory lanyard selections for both Oregon and Alabama. Oregon's got Idaho on the Big Ten Network. It still doesn't seem real. But I'm going to watch the Oregon Ducks on the Big Ten Network. It just doesn't seem real, but it's happening. And Alabama against Western Kentucky. Western Kentucky, I have to say, is one of those teams that if I'm Alabama, especially with this being Kalen DeBoer's first game as head coach, you better watch out for the Hilltoppers. They have been known to surprise some people. But I think, I'm not sure, but I want to think Kalen and Jalen. There you go. The Kalen and Jalen show will prevail tomorrow. So, anyway, we made it through 2 helmet selections and 2 obligatory lanyard selections. After all, I always pick Oregon and Alabama. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Now comes a helmet selection that has been on my brain for a good while, ever since the schedule came out. South Dakota State, the defending 2-time FCS champions, who, by the way, and to think I did 4 by the ways in the last episode. What's the over-under on me saying, oh, by the way? Just did it again. So now we're at 2. Anyway, South Dakota State. You're undefeated for 2 seasons. 2-time FCS national champion. Heading to Stillwater to take on Oklahoma State. Now, first of all, I got a beef with Oklahoma State right now. I used to like them a lot. Mainly because I hated Oklahoma. Now I got a reason to just say, you know what, screw you guys. First off, your star running back gets in trouble with the law. Secondly, you decide to put QR codes on your helmets? What is this, the Jerry Lewis Telethon? Well, it is the Labor Day holiday weekend, is it not? Only fitting that came to mind. When I saw the QR code thing, I'm thinking, what more do they want, being the athletes? You're getting paid. And don't give me this I got a family to feed nonsense, because we know that's what you should be doing. Never mind the whole play to win the game nonsense. I think I'm performing a Herman Edwards-like tirade. I told you I needed to do this outside. But I'm calling my shot again. I was talking to our baseball coach at W&J today, who is also in tune with this show, and I never got to get his name, but I told him, I said, I'm thinking about it. In fact, I'm going to do it. South Dakota State. Jackrabbits. And you know what? Remember a few years ago? Maybe a decade, maybe even longer than that? Central Michigan. They remember it. The upset. Central Michigan over Oklahoma State. Yeah, FCS 2-time defending national champion goes into Stillwater and keeps that streak intact. I'm all for it. It's rare that you get an underdog who happens to be a 2-time champion from the FCS. It's high time. It is high time. Go Jackrabbits. Take care of business. And oh, by the way, check Mike Gundy's papers and see if he's still a man that he claims to be. And I don't know why. I don't think his hair's real anymore. Anyway, that's it for that pick. Towson, Cincinnati, Catitude. Taking the Bearcats at home. That's a quick and painless pick, if there ever was one. Now I lost my place here. Welcome to the FBS Kennesaw State. Welcome to your first loss by Texas San Antonio. Have a good day. Where are we? Boise State, Georgia Southern. This is very interesting, given the fact that Boise State is heading to Autzen next weekend to take on the Ducks. And they got to go to Georgia Southern first. And if there's one thing I know about Georgia teams, they're not very hospitable to opponents outside of the state of Georgia. I can't believe I'm calling my shot on this one, but I'm going with Georgia Southern. And yeah, I know it's not the helmet that they typically wear. I don't care. It's too plain Jane to me. Give me something with more style. This coming from someone who always believed in substance over style. Come on, Georgia Southern. Give me something I can use. North Texas. Did I miss something here? I guess I did, didn't I? North Texas and South Alabama. South Alabama is not a team to be messed with, no matter who you play. Gotta go with the Jags at home. And that leaves us with Stony Brook and Marshall. Well, I don't see Stony Brook making any improvements in the near future. They haven't been all that great in the last couple years, especially considering that I started doing the show. So yes, we're going with Marshall. Richmond and Virginia, the Spiders and the Cavaliers. If I remember correctly, Richmond, I believe, has upset Virginia a time or two. Not this time. Taking Virginia. Eastern Kentucky and Mississippi State. I have a cowbell here, but it's not for Mississippi State. I actually have a W&J cowbell. Would have worked for this pick, but I am not going to use it for Mississippi State. I am, however, going to take them to beat Eastern Kentucky in another FCS versus SEC matchup, which now brings us to... Did I lose my place again? Everything's all scattered here. I'm pretty sure I lost my place somewhere along the way. Here we go. Kansas State hosting Tennessee Martin. I'm smelling another shutout. Take K-State. Memphis and North Alabama. North Alabama continues to plague my mind. I pick them and they lose. I'm going to stop picking North Alabama until they start playing like an Alabama team should. Like a South Alabama. Like a UAB. Of course, the Tide. But not Auburn. Anyway, going with Memphis at home. Furman and Ole Miss. Oh, why? If the game were played at Furman, I would have easily said Ole Miss versus FU. Make note to self. Get a Furman t-shirt. I swore I would never take a Lane Kiffin coach team. Sorry, Furman. I'll make it up to you next time. Where are we? Holy Cross and Rhode Island. For the first time this year, I get to sing that traditional Family Guy anthem. We're off on the road to Rhode Island. I do believe Holy Cross is actually pretty good. So if they beat Rhode Island, it wouldn't surprise me, but I'm going to go with Rhode Island because we're not sure which teams are going to show up, being that it's the first games of the season for those teams. So there you go. Sam Houston and Rice. Rice. Yes, Rice. The Owls. And the Bearcats. That's spelled with a K, for those of you keeping score at home. However, Sam Houston will start earning wins down the road, but it would be a good place to start for them if they beat Rice. However, I like Rice. And there's a song that probably should go in conjunction with the pick, but it just slipped my mind. Okay, now we're back up to speed here. Tennessee Tech and Middle Tennessee. Don't you just love it when I make picks on teams I know little to almost nothing about, and you try to figure out a way to make it sound entertaining? Well, I have nothing for you except the helmet pick. So there you go, Middle Tennessee. I am so sorry. Nevada and Troy. Nevada had SMU right where they wanted them, only to lose it in the final minute last week. And now they go to Troy, and, well, I'm afraid the run of bad luck's going to continue. I'm going to go with the Trojans at home, which now brings us to Kentucky hosting Southern Mississippi. Gotta go with the Wildcats. I have nothing further on that one. James Madison. There we go. James Madison and Charlotte. James Madison, probably one of the few teams that I'm quite positive will win on the road this week. Charlotte's one of those teams that few people are even aware of. And when you're not winning, that only drives the point home a lot more deeper. And that'll always leave people wondering, who are those guys? Well, there you go. Oh, where are we here? Here comes another one. Nichols, for the first time this year. I'm actually going to break the helmet out for you because we put them on the helmet tree last year. This is Nichols. The Nichols Colonels, otherwise known as Nichols State. And they get to travel to what I believe is the Independence Bowl. The stadium down there in Shreveport that plays host not only to the bowl game, but the team that I'm picking, Louisiana Tech. Another first-timer. I'm going to introduce you to the Southern Illinois Salukis. Looks like dogs to me. Southern Illinois heading to BYU to take on Dan Smith. Okay, just kidding. He's not with the program anymore. BYU. I don't do BYU. Well, I don't pick BYU very often, but unfortunately we have to here. So, besides, I'd much rather go with this look than they're more traditional. And I believe we are now down to the final helmet selection, which involves Southeast Missouri State, fresh off their win a week ago against North Alabama. Now they get to go to Las Cruces, New Mexico, to take on proud possessors of the last two bowl appearances in as many years, New Mexico State. And it just so happens that I'm picking them. So there you go. There are your helmet selections for Saturday. Now it's going to get interesting because I got a handful of lanyards. And the over-under is now going to be put into play. How many of them am I going to drop? Better yet, why don't we just... Can I get them all? Goodness gracious, I got them all in one shot. It's a Christmas miracle. I'm not going to do this in order. I am, though. There's one lanyard that I have to put on. If I can just find it. I know it's here. Oh, never mind. Let's just go with the first lanyard selection. Who are we picking here? First off, Ohio and Syracuse. If my memory serves me correctly, new coach, new quarterback. Can Syracuse finally get over the threshold, get another bowl appearance in them, and win more than they lose this season? Well, they got a very tough Ohio team going into the Dome tomorrow or Saturday. And as much as I like Ohio any other time, going to be a tough one to call here. It's going to be a good one. I'm going to go with Syracuse at home against the... We had one that almost fell to the floor, and another one's trying to. It's good to be me. Anyway, Syracuse over Ohio. Speaking of Ohio, when was the last time you saw the Akron Zips on national television? Don't know? Neither do I. They're playing Ohio State. That's all I got for you. It's going to be interesting watching Ohio State's offense with Will Howard, Quinn Sean Judkins, Travion Henderson, Emeka Ibuka, Jeremiah Smith or Jermaine Smith. It's Jermaine. Come on, Brandon. You should know this team now. Ohio State over Akron. Speaking of potent offenses, Arizona hosting New Mexico. I got to go with Noah Fafita and that Titero. Not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Titero McMillan. Best pair of hands in the game right now. Arizona over New Mexico. Which now brings us to Colorado State and Texas. All right. Nothing further on that one. Next on the docket. Yeah, they're all starting to get bunched up. This is about as bad as a contestant playing 10 chances on The Price is Right. Only in this instance, it looks more like I'm playing 3 strikes instead of 10 chances. Something's going to fall here. I just know it. Oh, score 1 for the keychain crowd. You know, these lanyards double as keychains. So I guess it would only be appropriate that I go ahead and this is awesome. Before I even do this, I'm taking Maryland over UConn. At least Maryland's intact. I can't believe I just did that. I may have to reconsider doing this show in another form. The lanyards, I don't just wear them to work. I mean, they pretty much have become props now. I have in my hand what I guess would be best described as the keychain for the Louisville Cardinals, who incidentally are playing Austin Peay at home tomorrow. Of all the things that could happen in the show. Oh my goodness. And now I've dropped it. The keychain and a lanyard. Put it on the board, folks. Oh my God. Oh, it's a laugh fest beyond belief. And I dropped it again. So there you go. We'll get it back together in due time. There we go. We got her. Thank you. Louisville over Austin P. My apologies. I had so much I wanted to do with that pick regarding Austin P, but it can't happen. And the lanyard I dropped happened to be Iowa State over North Dakota. So, oh, it's getting crazy. It is getting crazy. Why don't we just go into the 2-minute offense right now? Michigan over Fresno State. We did grab 2. Now we have 1. Indiana over FIU at home. I was going to make a comment about FIU and the fact that their stadium is now called Pitbull Stadium, but no comment from the peanut gallery. UNLV is playing Houston. This was going to be my next pick. Houston has a new coach now, Willie Fritz. UNLV, fresh off of a season in which they went to the Guaranteed Rate Bowl. They lost to Kansas. This is a tough one to call. I'm not sure about Houston, where they are at the moment. I mean, this could go either way, but I'm going to roll the dice on UNLV to beat Houston. And how are we doing here? Oh, my God. Help. Someone send help. Oh, wait a minute. Let's do this. This was what I wanted to do from the outset. Okay. I'm picking Washington over Weber State because I don't have a Weber State lanyard, so yeah. Huck the Fuskies, right. Oh, my God. Show's tanked. This show is getting tanked. And we're not even at the half-hour mark of the show yet, and we haven't even gone to the big ones. Oh, we're still sifting through all these lanyards. We got a good one. Not only a good one, a great one. Georgia State, Georgia Tech. You saw what happened with Georgia Tech last week. Georgia State is a team on the rise in the Sun Belt. I have a feeling it's going to be a wonderful game. And if Georgia Tech can play with the kind of body language that they did against Florida State in Dublin last week, I see no reason why they don't win this week. But there's always that fear of the hangover. When you're coming off of a win like that, you tend to get lackadaisical, and Georgia State will not hesitate to pounce on an opponent. However, I am going to go, since I screwed up on the pick last week, I'm going to take Georgia Tech to beat Georgia State. It is a home game, after all, for Georgia Tech. Meanwhile, back to my cluster of lanyards. Let's do this one. UTEP, Texas El Paso, visiting Lincoln and taking on the Big Red. That would be the Nebraska Cornhuskers. The Dylan Raiola era begins in earnest tomorrow in Lincoln at 3:30 Eastern Time. And this is nothing more than the appetizer for next week's main course when Nebraska hosts Colorado. So best of luck to Dylan and the Huskers. As I personally would like to see them back in the postseason. It's been long overdue. Grew up watching those great wishbone teams in the early 80s with Turner Gill, Mike Rozier, Irving Fryer, Dean Stein, Kohler, Dave Remington, all those guys. They made football fun, and it needs to be fun again. Meanwhile, Virginia Tech is at Vanderbilt. This is an easy one here, although I will point out, I just look so good with this wonderful lanyard shawl, or whatever the hell you want to call it. Virginia Tech will beat Vanderbilt tomorrow, but I will tell you, Vanderbilt has a quarterback that came through the transfer portal. If the name Diego Pavia rings a bell, it should. He came over from New Mexico State. He is, in the best definition, a baller, but they're going to need more than him if they are to pull off an upset tomorrow against, or rather Saturday, against Virginia Tech. I have 3 lanyards left, and if I can situate them, I should be okay now, because we're down to the last 3 lanyard selections before we get to the big ones. Northwestern at home against Miami of Ohio. Both went bowling last year, but here's the thing. Northwestern is playing, by and large, in a makeshift stadium on the lakefront, which is pretty damn cool. And this is only going to happen, I believe, this year and next year before their new stadium gets built. And it's been long overdue. They always had the smallest crowds of anyone in the Big Ten Conference. And now, as Jeff Braun goes into his second year as head coach of Northwestern, it's time to build on that incredible season where they did the unthinkable. Went straight from the musty basement to a trip to Las Vegas, beating Utah in the Las Vegas Bowl. That was pretty damn cool. I'm going to go with Northwestern. I believe in the Cats again. I want them to get a win, and they will. Purdue over Indiana State, simply because it should be a cakewalk for the Boilermakers. And finally, Miami and Florida. Oh, Florida. Promise me you won't back down against the Canes. Because I got a little something for you. Okay? I wouldn't do this. This is one of those reverse psychology picks. I'm picking Miami. Now prove me wrong, okay? That's all I ask. So now, if you'll just bear with me a moment, we got the big ones to come. That was wonderful. That was wonderful and hilarious all at once. Now, this is why the big ones have to be treated with the right amount of respect here. I have in my hand, believe it or not, 6 lanyards. Not 3, 6. I'll explain why. First off, Georgia, Clemson. It's not even a fair fight. I don't even know why I'm picking this game. Being that it's being played in Atlanta, Mercedes-Benz Stadium. They couldn't play it between the hedges? No, we gotta play it in an indoor stadium. So that Clemson will be at a complete disadvantage. That's what my heart is sinking. Heart is sinking. It is. My heart is going to sink now because my head is saying Georgia. That's all I can do for that one. Now, I want to make sure I count this right here. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, right. 5 left. All right. Now comes the fun part. The absolute, honest-to-goodness fun part. Notre Dame, Texas A&M. It is to my understanding that Johnny Manslaughtered is going to be the guest picker on game day. Whoop-de-freaking-do. I just love Texas teams. I do. Always bigger than they think they are. You know, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And wouldn't you know it, I drop another lanyard. For those of you keeping score at home, I believe that's 3, maybe 4. I can only imagine what it's going to be like when I do this at Cameron next Saturday. And oh, by the way, we will be live on Facebook Saturday morning from Cameron. Cannot wait to get out there. So, shameless plug. There you go. I'm not picking Texas A&M. In fact, I'm going to pull something out of the hat here that I may have done once before, I think. I don't know if I've ever done it this way, but I'm reminded of what Rene Rancourt used to do after the national anthem at Boston Bruins hockey games. He would always give the fist pumps, whether it's 2 or 3 or, however many. But how bad do I want Notre Dame to beat Texas A&M? Well, there's 1. There's 2. Don't just win. Win like a freaking champion, okay? That's all I ask. Never mind the 12th man. Get rid of the other 11 and then hit the 12th one right where it hurts. That's all I'm asking. You do that, and I think great things will be in your future. Go Irish. Now, the moment of truth. The final selection. Penn State. West Virginia. And again, I really wished I'd done this outside this very show. But just for the fact that we've had to endure 4 lanyard droppings and 1 lanyard mishap that saw a keychain get taken out. This has been, by and large, I think, one of the more hilarious shows I've ever done in my 3-4 years of doing this. But now it's time to get serious. Pat McAfee was in town to fire up the faithful, and that same faithful had better be out tomorrow in full throat. I mean 110% board certified, grade A, full freaking throat. You see this? Fuck it. Yes, I dropped the F-bomb. Sorry. Let's go, Mountaineers. And with that, we conclude the Week 1 episode of the College Football Kickoff Show. Until next time, have yourselves a great college football Saturday, and we'll see you and talk to you next week. Peace out.